Today we are diving into a really cool idea. How your everyday life, your habits, your vibe, even where you live, can actually have a huge impact on your health. And we're talking specifically about your menstrual cycle. We're going to frame this as a tale of two coasts.
So, let's just get right to it. Does your zip code affect your cycle? I know, it sounds a little out there, but could it actually be true? We're going to break down the lifestyle trends and see what we can find out. Okay, let's dive in.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at these two totally different lifestyle archetypes. Then, we'll dig into how things like stress, diet, and exercise really impact our bodies. After that, we'll check out support systems and a cool tool that's designed to help before we get to the most important part, figuring out your own health blueprint.
All right, let's set the stage. We're going to get to know two kinds of lifestyles that really get to the heart of our question. We've got the East Coast hustle versus the West Coast chill.
So on one side, you have the East Coast hustle. Let's call her Emily. Her life is just a whirlwind of ambition, high-stress job, that nonstop city energy. And on the other side, we've got the West Coast chill. Let's call her Sophia. Her whole thing is about flowing with the vibe, putting wellness first, with beach walks and just a more laid-back approach to life. Two very, very different ways of living.
So, how does this all actually impact our bodies? I mean, on a biological level, what does this difference in pace really do? Let's break it down.
This table really lays it all out. On the East Coast, that demanding pace is fueled by things like work deadlines and crazy commutes, right? So, when health issues pop up, the go-to is often a quick fix, like pain meds. But over on the West Coast, while the more relaxed lifestyle might have its own challenges, like inconsistent routines, the approach to health is way more holistic. Think herbal teas instead of pills.
And this quote from Emily, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? That feeling of being totally swept up in the current of a busy city. It's like your schedule is the one in charge, and that is a major source of stress.
And then you have Sophia. For her, flowing with the vibe isn't just some empty phrase. It's literally her strategy for staying balanced and managing whatever life throws at her.
And here's the kicker. This isn't just about feelings. There's real science here. The source material shows that chronic stress, the kind Emily deals with, can seriously mess with your cortisol levels. That's your main stress hormone. And when that gets disrupted, it can directly lead to irregular cycles, more painful cramps, and sometimes even missed periods.
Okay, so stress is a huge piece of the puzzle, but it doesn't stop there. Our environment also shapes two of the most critical things for our health every single day: what we eat and how we move.
You can totally see the lifestyle difference in the food choices, right? The East Coast hustle means a lot of convenient, grab-and-go stuff, bagels, deli sandwiches, which can be higher in processed foods. Meanwhile, the West Coast diet is all about those fresh, organic vibes. Think avocado toast and green juices, foods that are packed with anti-inflammatory goodness.
So what's the end result? Well, according to user data, people on the East Coast report more issues like bloating and spikes in inflammation. But on the West Coast, with those anti-inflammatory diets, people tend to have steadier energy and better hormone balance. It makes sense.
And we see this exact same split when it comes to exercise. The East Coast loves those structured, high-intensity workouts like HIIT classes. They're great for a quick endorphin rush, but they can also be pretty taxing on the body. The West Coast? They prefer more gentle, restorative stuff like hiking or yoga on the beach, which is more about flow and reducing stress.
Okay, so lifestyle, diet, exercise, all different. But what about how people actually get help and connect with each other?
And surprise, surprise, the approaches are totally different here too. East Coasters tend to lean into digital tools. They want efficiency and privacy, so they use apps, telehealth, and anonymous forums to get quick answers. West Coasters, on the other hand, are way more collaborative and public, preferring in-person communities like wellness retreats and just being more open on social media.
So with such different needs, how could one single tool possibly work for both lifestyles? Well, this is where technology can be pretty amazing, stepping in to bridge that gap and offer something that's truly personalized.
The magic here is personalization. A feature like this doesn't just give you generic, one-size-fits-all advice. No, it uses your data to suggest customized, evidence-based actions that actually fit your life, whether that means a quick breathing exercise between meetings or a recipe for an anti-inflammatory dinner.
So, here's how it works in a nutshell.
You just log your symptoms as they happen, the app's AI starts analyzing your patterns to figure out your triggers, and then boom, it gives you a suggestion tailored just for you. So for our East Coaster Emily, it might be a simple reminder to take a deep breathing break. And for Sophia on the West Coast, it might be a tip for a new anti-inflammatory recipe she could try.
But look, managing your own cycle is really only half the battle. These tools can also help with something that is so important, but often gets overlooked: how to actually talk about what you're going through, especially with a partner.
And this is just fantastic, practical advice from the source material. Using I statements like I feel or I need is such a simple but incredibly powerful way to say what you need without making it sound like an accusation. It just builds empathy and understanding.
And the ripple effects of doing this are just huge. It makes you feel less alone, it helps your partner give you the support you actually need, and it makes your relationship stronger. You start turning potential fights into moments where you're a team. So after looking at these two coasts, two totally different ways of life, what's the big takeaway here? What does it all mean?
At the end of the day, this isn't really about East Coast versus West Coast. The single biggest factor that influences your health isn't your zip code. It's your awareness of how you live, your stress, your diet, your habits. That self-awareness, that's the real key to taking back control.
And that leaves us with one final question I want you to think about. Just forget about the coasts for a second and just look at your own life. What is your lifestyle, your personal mix of hustle and chill? What does it tell you about your health?